Welcome to the Scarfey Spurs Talk Podcast. Today, I'm delighted to be saying that we are reviewing the West Ham win in the London Derby, and that win 3-0 at the London Stadium is our first win since a 3-2 win in November 2019, which started Jose Mourinho's tenure at the club. So our record at London Stadium has not been great. Great to finally end that and put that straight. And our 3-0 win here was also our biggest away win at West Ham since 1962. So good things all round. Back in the Champions League as well Tuesday to face Villarreal. Great time to be talking Tottenham. But let's introduce tonight's panel. Because you know me, I'm Harry Scarfe. I'm your host as always. I'm joined by four fabulous guests tonight. Firstly, Joseph. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Really happy about Tottenham right now. Can't wait to get into this with all of you guys. And as you can see, got my Champions League badge on, ready for the game tomorrow. So looking forward to that. But yeah, obviously first let's talk about how we battered the Hammers, because that's always going to be a great thing to talk about, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I should add as well in their cup final, just to add that in there.
Exactly.
And they're still crying now. So we love it. Thank you very much, Joseph. Travis, welcome back onto the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, really well, thank you, mate. Good to be back on the show tonight. Obviously, positive result on the weekend with their cup final. Obviously, Villarreal tomorrow night. Really positive. Really looking forward to it. Been some really good games so far. Obviously, I know we're only 3 or 4 games in, but yeah, I'm loving it at the moment. But I won't say anything too much because we've been here before. So yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We certainly have, but this time hopefully it's different and we look very good nonetheless. So thank you, Travis, for joining us. And Mike, it's been a little while, but welcome back onto the podcast. Would you like to tell people where you're listening, or where you're joining, should I say, from, and what time of the day it is? I find this baffling.
Ashmatic called it earlier when the toilet water spins the other way. You know you're in trouble and you're probably on the wrong side of the planet. So I'm down in Melbourne, Australia. I'm up at about 5:15, but anything for the Spurs, because what a win over West Ham. It's very exciting, smashing victory. Really rubbed it in the nose with Kudus just doing a great little number and pulling out all the party tricks towards the end. Very exciting. And Champions League. I mean, it's been a few years, lads. I'm very excited personally, and just with temper it with a little bit of what Trav said. Don't want to get ahead of myself. Just easing in, not over expecting, but very much looking forward to this chat and the game.
Thank you very much, Mike. Again, honestly, dedication is greatly appreciated. So thank you for being part of my podcast tonight. It means a lot. So thank you very much. Ashmatic, talking about being a while as well. It's great to have you back on. I mean, it always is good to have you on. You know, how are you doing as well?
West Ham get battered everywhere they go. West Ham. Hey, listen, lads. Hey, what a result, man. 3 to the good. Do you know what I'm saying? And as you boys already said, it is their cup final. Not ours, but we just, standard procedure. We just beat them nicely 3-0. And it's another clean sheet. I think we've got 3 clean sheets. I mean, it feels real good after, what happened last season. I won't want to talk about that. But yeah, man, it's positive. What can I say? I think we've not beaten West Ham since Mourinho. I think that's like 5 years. So yeah, I think that's really positive. And I think our London derbies were really atrocious over the last 2 seasons. So I'm really happy to because I was slightly worried about that. So yeah, man, look, I'm happy to see Mike wearing the black kit. You know what I'm saying? It looks like, the black Spider-Man. When that's what he looks like, the black Spider-Man kit. And then you've got Joseph wearing the Champions League badge. I'm like, oh, geez, look at that. Hey, listen, the memories. And then I got Travis wearing the trackie. I'm like, Rob, where did you get that from? I have to go to the shop and buy that. Hey, I tried to do my one, but it doesn't quite look the same. So when Harry, obviously professional as always, man, I'm not going to say too much. Let's get on with the show. There's plenty to talk about.
Love it. Thank you very much. That's massive. Always a pleasure. As I did say, thank you very much. If you're listening live on YouTube, please do get involved. And as well, like and subscribe. It all massively helps. If you're listening on the podcast platform, drop us a follow and a 5-star review. If you enjoy, if you're new as well, please do let us know where you're listening from, what time of the day as well, because I know we do get Spurs fans listening and football fans from all around the world, which is absolutely fantastic and I find so fascinating. But let's get straight into the game then, and we'll start with the lineup pre-match, because the Tottenham lineup, for anyone that hasn't seen it, was Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van der Ven, Spence, Paulinia, Sarr, Bergvall, Simmons, Tell, Kudus, and the substitutes were Kinski, Danso, Davis, Doggy, Bentancur, Johnson, Odobert, Richarlison, and Moani. Joseph, we'll kick it off with you if you don't mind. What were your thoughts on that lineup at the time? Anything that stood out to you, or you thought, I wouldn't have done that if I was Frank?
I have to say, I mean, I was a bit confused. I don't know if people see it, but Tottenham do their lineups with that numerical order now, rather than actually going from goalkeeper to striker, which is overly confusing. I don't know why they do that. They need to go back to the other one, because I was just sitting there for like 5 minutes trying to figure out, oh, okay, so it's him and him. Oh, and then it was just so confusing. But no, I mean, the lineup itself, I think I was a little bit shocked to see Tell starting. Obviously, I understand he's been left out of the Champions League squad, which obviously will be a shame for him. And I'm guessing he's been probably promised that he will play in some of these, you know, Carabao Cup / Premier League games. So it was good to see him playing. I just didn't expect it. And obviously, Xavi Simons starting, I kind of thought he was going to be playing in the middle. Obviously, he played off the left, and I'm sure we'll get into, you know, how everybody played. But I was more expecting him to play in where Bergvall was playing, and then maybe we would have Johnson on the left, or Odebear or Tell, and then somebody else up front, depending on who plays where. But yeah, I mean, I can't say I was disappointed with the lineup. I think I'm someone who's got a lot of, you know, I still believe in Tell. I feel like he can bring something to Tottenham. So I was happy to see him starting. And again, it's great to see Xavi Simons playing for Spurs. I mean, I still can't believe a player of his caliber is playing for our club. So yeah, I was quite content with the lineup. Obviously, a little bit cautious, as I always am going into a Tottenham game. Didn't want to get overly excited. I mean, we have struggled. I think it's 6 years we haven't beaten West Ham at the London Stadium. So yeah, I was a little bit cautious, but again, a great result. We'll get into it all. But the lineup itself, yeah, I was quite content with it.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much. And Travis, I mean, Joseph just highlighted it there in terms of Mattis Tell. Were you surprised to see him start this game?
No, I wouldn't say I was surprised. I know Solanke's out, and I've heard rumours that he's going to have to undergo surgery, which I'm really hoping he doesn't. But I'm glad he's been given that chance, to be fair, because obviously Frank's taking him out of the Champions League squad. I don't really understand why, obviously playing Champions League football for Bayern Munich, but that's the choice that he's made. So I'm really glad that he's got an opportunity to play. I thought he played quite well. You know, he's had his confidence not massively over the last couple of months with comments and stuff on social media, etc. So it's absolutely fantastic to see him back on the football pitch. I thought the starting 11 was great. Paulinho, I'm sure we'll probably get onto Paulinho later, but what an absolute bowler. You know, ever since we lost Moussa Dembele, you know, he's nowhere near the caliber of Moussa Dembele, you know, one of the best midfielders in my time, that's for sure. But yeah, I think Paulinho is great. He's a number 6 we've been needing for a long, long time. Yeah, and I can't see anything negative about the starting 11, really. Just glad to see Tell back on the
Yeah, 100%.
pitch.
I think we losing you slightly, Travis, but no, we get what you're saying. Thank you very much for that. Mike, on Xavi Simons, which has already been mentioned, happy to see him get, you know, his debut. And by the way, his legacy number is 898.
Mate, Xavi Simons, what an absolute baller. I am so happy he's at the club. He was my number one guy that I wanted us to bring in after that bloke we don't talk about anymore, Eberichieze. So, you know, he is a special player. I think on the left, he looked mercurial. He's going to get more of those chances to chop inside, I think, and put some curlers around. He had one lovely shot late on, but just the way he dribbles with such confidence, speed, and sort of that push to the final third is going to be really important for Spurs. And I think getting him more central is something that Frank talked about after the game, which will be good. But I think today, what you saw with Tell starting in the middle, and you know, that sort of careful management given the striker injuries that we've got with Solanke and the others out, and obviously the Champions League considerations for Tell not being in that squad too, meant that how they set up was really very much about the Villarreal game. So I'm hoping that we'll see Xavi in a more central position with some more conventional flankers or wingers for that game. But yeah, look, I trust Frank. I mean, I think he shows that he changes how we set up every game. He never does what you expect, and it always looks bloody fantastic. So really pumped to see what he does for Villarreal. And Simons is just, with that number 7, he's special, and he's going to get more and more special for us.
Love it. I'm looking forward to it. And Ashmatic, lastly on the lineup, Archie Gray was left out the squad. I'm surprised not many people did discuss this. where do you see this coming from? Of course, he's got a lot more depth now. Is that the reason maybe he finds himself outside the squad?
Yeah, I think Archie Gray will be utilised in cup games, in my opinion. They will try to blood him in because there is so much quality in this side now. I think there's a lot of competition, and it depends where you view his best position. Because last season, obviously, he was all over the shop because we had suffered with a lot of injuries in centre back, right back, left back areas. He did come from Leeds and he did predominantly play as a right back, but we know his favorite position is playing the number 8. A lot of fans have seen him as a number 6, and I personally think he's a number 8. And if he is a number 8, then in my opinion, he's going to be against Bergvall. I don't think Bergvall's a 10. A lot of people think he's a 10, but I think he's an 8. And you've got Matassar. I think he's an 8 as well. And so with that logic, I think the best thing for him to do to get minutes is either be in the cup competitions and then come off the bench, or some of the League Cup games. We've got Doncaster coming up, so I'd imagine he would start that type of game, so he would have more of a chance to get his chance to show what he's about. And it'd be interesting to see who he plays alongside, because I think that first game when he played in that number 8 position, albeit against Burnley, and we knew Burnley gave Liverpool trouble yesterday, I thought that he was the one that was kind of kickstarting the game. He was the one that kind of gave the team energy in that first game that we saw in that second half. A bit what Bergvall did for us when he came on against Bournemouth. He came over and gave us that much needed injection. And I felt like in that left 8, because it was a left 8 where he played at Burnley, he just looked like he was a lot more freer. He had more freedom. He didn't have like the chains on his back. And so against Doncaster, if I see him in a similar position where he's just got the freedom, the license to roam, to pick up the ball, express himself, you're going to see the best of Archie Gray. And looking at his frame and looking at Bergvall's frame and a similar height, they got similar attributes, but I just want to see a bit more from Archie, because we haven't seen him in that position. Whereas I think Bergvall had more time in that position to develop into the Premier League and get his foothold in, and a lot more fans got to see what Bergvall's about. With Archie Gray, we saw him in multiple positions, so we don't really know how he's going to be in that position if he's battling against Bergvall. So I think Doncaster, in my opinion, will be a great test to see how he performs and what type of midfielder is. Is he going to be a 6, or is he going to be a right-sided 8? Is he going to be a left-sided 8? And then the draw will be out, because then I think it'll be fair then to make an assessment on him. Right now, I don't think it's we're having a big enough sample size to actually look at him and say, yeah, Archie Gray's not cut out for Spurs. That's what I think.
Very good shout. No, it's a very good shout. Thank you very much, Ashmatic. And of course, people don't know, I know you're very into your tactics and kind of, breaking it down. So I really appreciate your insights on that one. Let's move on to the game itself. Tell you what, I'll come back to you, Mike, on this one. Romero, 20th minute, heads in from a corner, but the goal was disallowed on field. Do you agree or disagree with the decision made by the on-field referee, Jarrett Gillett, to disallow this Tottenham goal?
Well, unlike James Maddison, I don't think I'll get in trouble for what I say. But no, it was ridiculous. It was really crap refereeing the whole game, and that decision was just shocking, because I think their keeper, you can see, pushes Van der Ven, who then causes like a mass collision into Romero, who still manages to get the header in, but bundles over, I think it's Kyle Walker-Peters in the process. So no, look, if you look at it slowly, there's no two hands push in the back or anything like that. He's just doing a natural climb, and he does clatter a smaller player in the process. But what's exciting for me is that they, despite the bad call on that, they did score multiple headed goals. The set piece game is really rolling, and I think you're starting to see Frank has really brought the long ball back into just about every fixture this season. It's madness. Like he's tactical now, so bringing that back and really having 4 players in the side that can do that. But apparently Danso is the best, and we need to see him do it. But that as a tactic, plus the set pieces and just the volume, the aerial assault from the corners. Imagine being a West Ham defender, you'd just be absolutely crapping yourself the entire game, just with the balls coming in at velocity all day long. It was phenomenal to watch, and I loved seeing them under that pressure. And certainly Kuti was unlucky, but I think he certainly didn't let that bother him. His ball, which I'm sure we'll talk about later on, to young Bergvall was just delightful. So I loved seeing that.
Certainly was. Thank you, Mike, for your input on that one. Joseph, I think you're going to agree with this, and I think the whole panel in agreement that we don't agree with the decision. But can you understand putting yourself in kind of, I know this is difficult, the shoes of Jarrett Gillett, why he's given it as a foul at the time, maybe the way it comes across? Is it a case for you that you don't blame Jarrett Gillett in the situation for making that maybe mistake, let's say, or poor judgment, but you think VAR should do better and overall and offer him that support?
Yeah, no, I can agree with that, Harry. I think, that's what VAR is supposed to be there for, isn't it? If the referee makes the wrong decision, and that can happen, it's human error, it's natural, it's in our nature sometimes to get things wrong, and that's okay. But the VAR is supposed to overrule that and make sure that we come to the right decision, and that's what it's failing to do. It's failing to do that in a number of occasions. Obviously, not just for Tottenham, for every club in the Premier League, and that's a massive problem. I mean, I think obviously people have stopped talking about this goal because we obviously ended up winning the game 3-0. If we didn't win the game, it's what anyone would be talking about, and we need to still look at this and go, why are they getting this wrong? Because it's clear there's a domino effect in this. If I think Hermansen even pushes Mateus Fernandes who's behind Van der Ven, who then in turn kind of pushes Van der Ven, who then in turn pushes, it's like just using logic and using just any kind of football knowledge that any of us have. We can all see that that's not a foul. It's not Van der Ven's fault. He doesn't even really interfere with the goal at all, and I don't see how Cole Peters is going to get up there anyway and stop Romero from heading that goal, because he had that completely. But still, it's a shame that happened. And the first half was really poorly refereed. I think he really struggled. The second half, I think he kind of got lucky. There wasn't a lot to do after the red card. But that first half, he really struggled on, and it felt like a lot of things were going West Ham's way. So I was quite disappointed in that, in Jarrett Gillett's first, his overall officiating. But again, it's just the fact of VAR is there to correct the wrong decisions, and they're not doing that. So there needs to be something going on. And again, because we won the game, no one's talking about it. But if we lost the game, that's all anyone will be talking about this weekend. So yeah, bit of a shame. But again, luckily it didn't cost us too much.
Absolutely. I think you've hit the nail on the head for me anyway there, Joseph. Thank you. Travis, do you think VAR should have intervened? And the whole question here, isn't it, I suppose, is it a clear and obvious error? You hear that name thrown around a lot. And what I would say, although I don't 100% know about that, I know what I think about the decision, whether it's clear and obvious. And I'd say probably. But either way, we see the VAR intervening for things that aren't clear and obvious. So should they have stepped in here and not backed the referee's decision?
I've said it before and I'll say it again. VAR is not consistent, and this is what is killing the game, and that's where it's going so wrong. It was a clear and obvious foul, and I've seen decisions go for a lot softer. So that's where it's wrong in the game. Yeah, it was obvious that you've got the referee, you've got the VAR, both looking at exactly the same thing, but unfortunately, sometimes they're not singing off the same hymn sheet. So that is the problem. A foul is a foul at the end of the day. So yeah, it's not consistent enough, and that's where it's going wrong. So something, as Joseph quite rightly said, needs to be done about it.
100%. And I'm sure we've all, if not most of us, seen what James Maddison's posted on social media, such as X. So I'll read it out for people that haven't. Maddison said, honestly, the referees in VAR have had an absolute shocker of a start to the season. If that goal is disallowed for a foul, you will never, ever see a corner be taken without referee blowing for something ever again. I mean, Ashmatic, he's right, isn't he, really here? He's going to get in probably trouble for it. I did read that this morning, but I think you hit the nail on the head, Maddison.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it favors the defenders, because the defenders are allowed to rugby tackle players into the box and get away with it. And that's what I saw. I don't know what you guys saw, but I saw a lot of, especially straight after that goal. And I was like, well, where's the justice here? Do you know what I mean?
There was the one, wasn't there? Like Van der Ven kind of got rugby tackled a couple corners afterwards. And I was sitting there going, that could easily be a penalty. If that was a foul on what Van der Ven did, How is that not a foul the other way? And again, it's the inconsistency, like Travis said.
Well, this is exactly the point I'm making, Joseph. So
Yeah.
make it make
No,
sense.
it's
What I'm
talking.
saying, make it make sense.
100%.
So, but again, it's always been that way. It's always like they always protect the defenders, and the attackers always get penalized. And like you guys already alluded to, luckily for us, it wasn't detrimental. And I think what that actually did was it put a little bit of oomph in the team. When you feel like you've been hard done by, when you know that, okay, we put in the back of net and that we should be 1-0 up, I felt it gave us an extra gear, another bite to kind of start a bit more oomph, because I think the game was a bit flat, in my opinion, before that. I think the first 15 minutes, I would say, West Ham had, I wouldn't say a great deal of chances, but they had more of the opportunities in open play, especially. Didn't really trouble our goal, but Paqueta especially, he had a chance. I saw he had it, and I just thought, if you take the set pieces away and you look at those first 15 to 20 minutes, it did worry me slightly when looking at how we performed against Bournemouth. That was just me personally. However, going back to the point, the reason why I was so impressed with not just us attacking set pieces, but defending set pieces, means that Thomas Frank has risen the floor of this team. We often talk about the ceiling, but I think us being well coached now defensively, and he's spoken about that a lot, you know, how much better we are defensively, and he wants to get that right. He wants to talk about not just the high, the mids, the low blocks, but he wants to talk about when to go man to man, when not to, when to step off. And that's what he wants to teach the guys. But going back to your point, Harry, sorry, kind of went off on a tangent there. I just think, Maddison, obviously, he's a passionate player, you know, and he sees himself as one of the leaders, one of the captains. Because he can't affect the game, he wants to have his voice, he wants to have his say. And I think that's the reason why he came out on X and said his piece, because he felt strongly about this. And he wanted to back the boys at the end of the day. He's one of the lads. And I think he wasn't wrong in saying it. So if he is to be penalized, so be it, you know. He's getting paid enough.
Yeah, so true. But I think he is right. So half-time then, it was West Ham 0, Tottenham 0. Not too much apart from that to discuss in the first half. We'll briefly touch it though here. Travis, can I start with you? The first 20, 25 minutes or so, I mean, would you be fair to say it's quite even? You know, West Ham having some chances and then we had some chances. It felt kind of in the balance in that point of the game.
Yeah, I thought the first 25 minutes, half an hour, I thought it was just going to be one of those typical London derbies, you know, where it could go either way. As Ash said, you know, they had a couple of chances. Luke Paqueta's always a threat anyway within that midfield. You know, I'd love to sign him for Spurs. He'd have been a brilliant signing. So yeah, but it could have gone either way. The second half, it was a completely different game. Obviously, we've come away with 3 goals to the good. But them games always start off slow. I think there's always that fear, you know, do we score first? Do they score first? It's always the same in a London derby, you know. So yeah, it was probably quite a painful 25 minutes, half an hour, and then obviously second half it was much better. It wasn't one of those London derbies that has gone, you know, hit the road running, and you know it's like anyone could score at any moment. It was just one of those slow moving, you know, 30 minutes or so. So yeah, it was, you know, one of those typical starts really is for a London derby.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, Travis. I mean, Mike, Travis is right here. You know, West Ham did create lots of chances. Well, some chances anyway, be fair to say, in that first half. As did Tottenham, but West Ham did have a couple. I mean, one that really stands out to me is Lewis Paquetá. I mean, he's got to do a little bit more with that. He drags it in the end, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Paquetá's a sensational player. I would have liked to see him at Spurs, to be honest, but it's described as like a not very derby-like game, which I'd say is fairly accurate. It certainly lacked atmosphere, and I think it lacked intensity. It's a very sort of slow, cavalier kind of game, and I think that the sparks that really got it going was Thomas Suchek's ridiculously blatant shin-destroying challenge on Paulinho, our boy, really got things sparked up which may be a catalyst for what we needed to see from Spurs. I feel like it was building up, but then sort of when that happened, things really got rolling. So, yeah, the leadership was always there on the field to maybe get us there. I think I saw signs of intent from Romero and some of the lads and how they went about it. But I think they needed something to happen, and maybe sometimes in games, if you put all the right pressure on and the right tactics, sometimes the cards fall in your favour, and some errant challenge happens, and they're all ready to go at that point.
Thank you, Mike. Joseph, I mean, we were on top though and pushing, weren't we, towards the end of the half? It just felt like that goal would come, and maybe half-time come at a good point for West Ham.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think, again, echoing what the rest of the lads have said, I think the first 20-ish minutes, I think it was a very close game. West Ham obviously had the main chance. Lucas Paqueta should have scored. He should have scored that, and he dragged it. It was a really good chance for him. But yeah, we were on top, but again, we didn't have loads of clear-cut opportunities other than the goal, really. It was just kind of set piece after set piece, which I didn't mind. I could see us scoring from it, and that is one thing that I'm loving about Thomas Frank. I remember last year under Ange, whenever we had a corner, I never thought we'd score. I never thought we'd have anything, we'd do anything from a set piece. Now with Frank, I believe in set piece. I even believe in a throw-in. And that's not something I've had with Tottenham for a long time. So I'm actually quite for that. But no, you're right. I think the first half was, like Mike says, it didn't feel like a London derby. It was played at a really slow pace. There was no intensity to the game whatsoever. But again, we come out in the second half. We stay on top, which is exactly what we needed to do. And obviously, eventually, we get that first goal, which is great. But yeah, after the first 20 minutes, it was all Tottenham's game. It was Tottenham's game to win. We dominated it. West Ham really struggled. I mean, when you think about it, West Ham played really poorly, and I don't know if that's partly because we made them play poorly, or also because they are quite crap. But yeah, it was great to see us kind of dominate a game, especially after that Bournemouth game in the Premier League, because we were really played off the park there, and I think we kind of showed a bit more of we are going to be better this year. We are going to control games. We've got the players to do so. So it was definitely good to see us kind of dominate a game like that.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, Joseph, for that one. Ashmatic, moving on to the second half then, 47th minute. We started very, very quickly. First goal of the game going to us through Matchday. I mean, a perfect start to the half. Would that be fair to say?
Scarfey, I want to apologize because I just want to... I had to rewatch the game because in that first half, and especially in that first 15 minutes, I had to understand why Spurs are poor, in my opinion, at central progression. So what I mean by that is building up in that defensive third from Vicario to either Romero or Van der Ven, and then passing it into a ball player like either Sarr, or you've got Bergvall on the other side, and then you've got Paulina as the pivot, right? So we played a 4-3-3. Wasn't a 4-2-3-1 in my opinion. It looked more like a 4-3-3. And I think that the reason why we couldn't progress the ball, in my opinion, and it was the same issue that I saw at Bournemouth, is that when we're building up, it's like I think Frank wants to build up down the sides. That's my personal opinion. When I watched it again, it looked like they were trying to press us and force us down the left-hand side. And it was interesting because we put Xavi Simons on that side along with Spence, two right-footers. And when you've got two right-footers on the left-hand side, it makes you slightly narrow. However, Spence did overlap at times, but he wasn't able to whip as many crosses in because he would have to cut back onto his right foot to whip a cross in. There was one time he tried to Travella on the outside of his foot and it didn't quite come off. And there was one time when Bergvall went down the side, ran across, and then tried to do a cutback. So I think that we don't progress the ball through the central areas because I personally think Frank wants to build up down the sides. And coming back into that second half, I think there was an instruction because when you're building up in the sides, I felt that Bergvall was high up the pitch and he wasn't getting involved in that central build-up, in my opinion, from what I was watching when I rewatched it again. And I don't know if that was an instruction because from the kickoff, when we kicked off, Tell passed it right back to Vicario, and Vicario went long and he hit a diagonal. Now, I've seen Bournemouth do it. I've seen Newcastle do it. I've seen a few teams do it now because the meta in football has slightly changed where teams are no longer progressing through the defensive third, middle third, and attacking third, where it's slow and controlled, a bit like a De Zerbi, or not De Zerbi, sorry, a Pep Guardiola. You know, everyone wants to progress the ball through the middle and control the game that way. I think now we're trying to be more aggressive, more direct, fire it up the pitch. Everyone pushes up the pitch, and we try to win the first and second ball, or even the third ball, and then we create that chance higher up the pitch, nearer towards the box. Now, I felt that in the second half, what Bergvall did was, instead of vacating the central area and joining the attack, he went slightly deeper, and he kind of formed the three with your Xavi and your Spence. And when he dropped into the left 8, more centrally, nearer to Paulinho, we were creating an overload on that left-hand side, which led to, I think, a corner, which was on the left-hand side, which Xavi did. Xavi did that corner, and at half-time, the set-piece coach said to Papa Sarr, they're not defending the back post. We're loading that front post, but they're not defending the back post. And that's when he scored a goal, and it was actually Bergvall that blocked the shot from the defender, and that's what gave the space for Pape Sarr to get the header, the free header. And it's been an issue for West Ham all season. And then when Sarr scored, he pointed at the set piece coach, and he obviously, like he said it afterwards, he made a comment on X, on social media, sorry. He said, yeah, I was pointed at the coach because, we spoke about that at halftime. That was something that was very vulnerable. We saw it. And credit to the staff, credit to the set piece coaches to point at and being analytical. And I like that when you've got Thomas Frank, he makes notes. You see him with the notepad in his hand. He goes over to his staff. They've got the iPad, and he'll be like, freeze, take that point. I want to see that again. I'm going to talk about that at halftime. So he's constantly analyzing. What I want to see from Frank, because I do believe he does like to overload the flanks. I want to see if he's adaptable for some teams, because we're going to come into Champions League games in a second, but I want to see if he can progress the ball not just through the wide areas, the wide channels, and try to cross the ball into the box. Hence why Tell wasn't so effective, because it's not really his strength. But those crosses that, what's his face, Kudos was trying to whip in, that ultimately led to set pieces, which ultimately led to goals. Do you know what I mean? So in a roundabout way, Frank was spot on and he got it right. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, sorry for going around the world again. But yeah, just wanted to say that point.
It's all right. No, thank you, Ashmatic. Again, thank you for your insight on that one. Mike, I'll come to you. I mean, on that Pat Maté goal in the 47th minute, it always felt like we were going to score from a corner in this game, didn't it? Already had one chalked off, and we were pushing from those corners. I mean, also, I'm going to add in there, do you agree with Joseph in terms of it's good to see us take those set pieces seriously under Frank?
Oh, it's a completely different ballgame. I can't agree enough with what Joe was saying about how when we used to get a corner or anything near a set piece with Ange, I couldn't care less. I lost complete interest. I'd often just go and do something else. It's just like nothing would ever happen because there was no tactic, strategy, or buy into that approach. But it's another weapon in the arsenal. And sort of just hearing this morning a bit of other analysis around how an increasing number of goals are being scored from set pieces. Premier League, and certainly when you go to Champions League, it's more and more an opportunity to create pressure, build momentum, but also score important goals. Perhaps he really impresses me as a player. I mean, his versatility, his ability to get in that right position, the awareness to be unmarked there was superb. And I think Papsar is one of those players that can play just about anywhere quite well. He's one of the most versatile players in that team. Actually, he's a little bit different to some of the other guys who we've talked about, because I think one of the challenges with the Gray, who we talked about, and Tell also, is that we don't really know what their best positions are. They're young players, but I think particularly the challenge with Tell for me is he's been through a bit. He's been backed. He's got opportunity. It's disappointing to miss out on the Champions League squad. But what is Tell and what's he good at? I think he's probably not a striker. He's maybe a left winger or a right winger, but I need to see a bit more from him. But I think he also should look at someone like Sarr and look at how Sarr, no matter where he's put, really makes the most of those opportunities. Last thing I'll probably add is just that seeing the way that Frank and that coaching staff, how they get around the players and they have that constant communication and that dialogue, and every time there's a headed goal or Mickey van der Ven scores with his right foot, there's that automatic feedback between them and the sort of acknowledgements and the cheer and the kind of signalling. You just gotta love that. It's so different to watching Ange kind of stroll around the sidelines like a bit of a Walking Dead zombie. It's a different feel and a different energy around the game. So we'll definitely throw that in.
Thank you very much, Mike, for that. I mean, Joseph, to come to you. I mean, West Ham have had an issue with defending like corners in particular all season, haven't they? And they had the problem last season under Potter.
Yeah, no, they have. I mean, I don't understand. Obviously, I know they're going to back Graham Potter for now because he has only kind of come in halfway through a season. I mean, towards the back end of last season, really. But I really don't see it with him and West Ham. I don't see it working out. And yeah, no, completely. I mean, Tottenham, they utilised the weakness of West Ham's. And again, like Ash said, and it was clear that Tottenham noticed something in the first half and realised how open that back stick was. Obviously, we were kind of front loading the front post with, Van der Ven, Romero, the bigger guys, and it left people completely unmarked at the back post. And all we needed was that one kind of longer ball in. Again, a great cross by Javi Simmons as well. You got to execute it well, and we've seen many players struggle with taking corners in the past for Spurs. But he executed it perfectly, and it was, on a dime for Pape Sarr to head that in. So it was really good to see us kind of, again, utilize a weakness of our opponent. Again, when we talk about Ange, it was always about, this is the way that we play whoever we come up against. And it's like, well, actually, no, you know what? We're going to play this way against West Ham because we know that this is where they struggle. This is one part of their game they're not the best at. And we kind of use that to our advantage. And that's what we need to do more of. I'm just going back to what Ash said about kind of, different ways of playing, where we kind of play it out wide rather than through the middle. I think that's why a player like Javi Simmons is perfect for Tottenham. Now that Maddison's injured, we've got a player that if he does play in the middle, he can progress that ball through the middle if we need him to, as well as obviously playing it out wide. It gives us a lot of versatility, and that's what we're going to need. There's going to be certain games where we come up against a team that have two terrific wing backs that we're going to struggle to play the ball out wide, or the wingers might get doubled up on. So we need to play it through the middle. And obviously because of Maddison's injury, we've now luckily got a player like Javi Simmons who can do that. I mean, we saw in the game, obviously coming off of the left, he would always drive inside a lot of the time, wanting to kind of play through the middle and open up the game. And West Ham were there for the taking through the middle as well. They really struggled to stay strong through that middle. So, it was, again, Tottenham did really well to utilise kind of, what West Ham was struggling with. And again, it came through towards the end of the game. I would say, I think that I know we'll talk about the red card. I do think that completely opened the game up for Spurs. I think it was a close game until then. I know we were dominating. I know we had the ball and we would do it, but we weren't creating loads of chances. West Ham was still in the game, and they could have. You never know. Tottenham aren't always the best defensively. I know we've been a lot better recently, but I know against Bournemouth we could have conceded a number of goals. Again, Lucas Paqueta probably should have scored in the first half. So there was always that feeling that there's a chance West Ham could nick a goal. I think the red card completely opened up the game. So that really helped us kind of be a bit more expansive with our play, a bit more kind of creative, and we see that in the goals we scored.
We'll get on to the red card. Thank you very much for that. Travis, I mean, that second half started how it ended with the first half, didn't it? Spurs on top, pushing and got that goal.
Yeah, massively. I was quite happy to see the back end of the first half, to be fair. Obviously, what we spoke about earlier. Obviously, I know we've just been talking about Pat Matasar, but I think I said on a couple of podcasts ago how good Pat Matasar was going to be. And he's an engine in that midfield. And I dread to think if he gets injured. I know obviously we've got Bentancur, but Pat Matasar is going to be a huge, huge asset for the club in the next couple of seasons and this season as well. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. I think the guys have hit the nail on the head, to be fair, apart from Mike saying the A word. I've got nothing apart from the first half, which we've all said already. It could have gone either way. I think I've got nothing really too bad to say about the game in general, really. I like Ash's statics on the way we play, why we play that way. So it's really, really interesting to listen to that and why we play the way we do at the moment. Obviously, we've obviously Kudos being a new winger. So I'm really excited for the next couple of games.
Lovely stuff. Travis, can I stick with you? Because you did mention Pat Matasar. I want to explore that point a little bit more because he is continuing his good form and you have touched on it, but just how important would you say he is now to Frank? Is it a case that he's one of the first names on the team sheet? Would you go as far as saying that?
Massively. He needs to be starting games. There's going to be so much competition between him and Bentancur, I think, but he needs to be starting near enough every single game, including Champions League games, because he has got so much energy. He's like a battery that never runs out. His energy and everything, and his ball control and everything is just absolutely superb. He's come on so much as a footballer from where he was. So yeah, he's a massive player for the team, and I really hope we get to keep him in good form and no injuries or anything like that, because yeah, he's going to be massive for us, and I think he's going to really excel in the Champions League football as well. Now he's got a bit more confidence, more experience. So yeah, he's a massive player for us.
Thank you, Travis. And Ashmatic, I mean, it's great to also see Star adding goals to his game, isn't it? I believe he got one in the international break for Senegal. He got quite a few in pre-season too, scored in this game.
Yeah, straight the iron while it's hot, man. I think that's the saying, and I think that's why a lot of football fans are saying, you've got to play him. He's undroppable right now. Why take a player that's not in form? But then you have the difficult question, and I know we're going to get to it, but just long term, who is Frank's best midfield? And I think it's a fantastic headache to have, and it all depends on where you see his strengths are and where his flaws are, in my opinion. And I think different strokes for different folks in terms of different games, different scenarios, different game states. I think when we want to control a game, do we want Papa Matasar in the game, or do we want him in a more transitional game, if that makes sense? So when we're playing maybe the bigger teams in Champions League, maybe we draw for Papa Matasar because you're going to need his legs to win the ball back. You're going to need his recovery runs, but equally you need him because the third man runs, So what I mean by that is him making late runs into the box like, Dele Alli used to. Equally, Bergvall can do that as well. So you've got two players that are quite similar in profile. However, I'd say the difference between maybe a Bergvall and a Sarr is Bergvall, obviously he's less experienced, he's younger, but in terms of carrying the ball, I'd say Bergvall's got more of the edge in terms of a technical flaw to what Sarr does. But what Sarr does bring you, he does bring you that that ability to win that ball high up, to make those runs in behind, and also, as I said before, to link up with his teammates, to keep it really simple, and just to be a good egg. Just a good egg. He travels well, so if he was to be dropped, for example, he would take it on the chin. He's not a player that will complain. He gets on with it, but he's a very likable person. He's very youthful in his mannerisms. When he scores a goal, all the players run up to him. They love him. He reminds me of the dark-skinned Sonny. That kind of, do you know what I mean? He's got that kiddish, I don't know, that youthfulness about him. Wouldn't hurt a fly. He comes across as that type of guy. But yeah, in terms of footballing ability, people call him Sar Torre. And at one point, I was like, last season anyway, he scored 6 goals, which is good. But I was like, if he doesn't increase his output, I will have him on forward watch. But he did answer my prayers last season, and I think he will excel as well this season because he started really well. And players like that, they need to be, kept in the squad, kept happy, kept playing, and we'll see them form improve. But this is a caveat to my own point. I still see him as if Simmons is holding down the 10 role, then his competition has to be Bergvall, because I don't see Bergvall and Simmons wrestling for the 10. I see Bergvall and Sarr wrestling for that number 8 jersey, in my opinion. Do you know what I mean? Not to say that Bergvall couldn't develop into a 10. But in terms of like vision, do you know what I mean? In terms of passing in the final thirds near the box, in that kind of, that's where I think Berval, we need to see a bit more consistency in that area. Like if you want them to open up low blocks, if I'm making sense. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on Sarr and the midfield, bro.
Love it. No, I absolutely love it. It's why I come and see like the insight and the thought behind it. So thank you, Ashmatic. I'm sure we all like that. And hopefully the first of many of assists for Xavi Sims as well, I will say, taking that corner. But we will progress for now. 52nd minute, Jed Spence was booked. The only booking from Tottenham point of view in the game. I mean, it got a little bit worse than that for West Ham because in the 54th minute, Thomas Souček was sent off. I mean, Joseph, there is no real debate, is there, here? You know, even we took our Spurs caps off. I mean, you're wearing a cap, so it's quite ironic, but it's quite clear, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It was a red card. I feel a little bit for him because he's not, as much as he looks like he should be that type of player, he's not that type of player. He's not the type of guy to be very, hot-headed and to be rash. I think he was desperate to get the ball, and it was a straight red card. He knew it as soon as it happened as well. He got up and was pretty much straight away walking off the pitch. So it was again a shame for West Ham. Obviously, benefited us significantly for the remainder of the game, and again it just gave us so much more freedom going through that midfield. Just quickly before we carry on, I just want to go on to just want to come back to what Ash said about Sarr.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we saw in that Bournemouth game, he was probably the most progressive player for us in terms of obviously Bentancur and Paulinho playing behind him. And it was clear he wasn't, the kind of creative player going forward. He was that kind of box to box player. And I'm thinking like he could be, what we need to do is eventually find like the Caicedo to our Enzo Fernandez in a way. Like we need that kind of player that can completely like defend well, can pass well. Obviously, I love Paulinho. I think he's great, but obviously he is 29, almost 30. If we can find that kind of long-term partner to Pape Sarr, I genuinely think that the ceiling is massive for Pape Sarr. And if we can find that player to play alongside him and be that kind of, indestructible midfield, we could be really, we could be singing. But in terms of just the red card itself, it obviously really disrupted West Ham's, kind of game plan. I think they were kind of trying to stay in the game for as long as they could and just kind of maybe nick one if they could. But yeah, Thomas Souček, he knew it was a red card straight away. Again, not one that he meant, just one that he, it was an accident from him. And obviously lucky João Paulinho is wearing some bigger shin pads because we know that some players don't even bother with them anymore.
100%. Absolutely spot on with that. I mean, Mike, there's a point there, isn't there, to be made by Joseph. I think he's spot on that Paulinho looks like at this moment in time got away with them. Thank goodness.
Yeah, he looks. Thank God he's okay. I mean, the damage done to that shin is just remarkable. Look, fair point. I mean, I think that Souček generally is a decent bloke. I mean, I don't think he has any particularly bad intentions in that challenge. You can see that, by the way, he drops his head immediately afterwards in his demeanour that he, whilst not being too apologetic to Paulinho, he does feel bad for his team and he knows that he did the wrong person, so he goes straight down the race, Paulinho gets straight up and just carries on, I think, a bit after that. So it was a momentum shift. To be fair, Joe, I mean, I don't know what West Ham were trying to achieve. I found it really hard to understand their game management under Potter, their strategy, their tactics. I just don't think he's a particularly good coach at all.
They are just really struggling, aren't they? Like, I've watched, obviously, I'm sure we all have, everyone missing football. We've watched a lot of football since the Premier League come back, and West Ham have just looked lost. They've looked completely lost. I don't know how, they pulled off that 3-0 against Forest towards the end of the game in the last 10 minutes. It's not like they dominated the game or anything. They just kind of got a bit lucky towards the end, and it's just, they look completely and utterly lost of ideas and what their game plan is.
It sort of begs the question as well, like, what do you take more out of this? Is it that we were really good or that West Ham just generally suck at the moment? I think that's a fair question to sort of put out there because I think, we did take advantage of the cards that were dealt to us, but they are particularly awful at the moment.
I think it's a bit of both, right? To be honest with you, I think it's both, really.
Yeah, I think we looked at what their midfield was in Souček and Ward-Prowse, especially Ward-Prowse, and they lack a lot of legs, meaning that our players can cover a lot of ground, so we can literally tackle, defend, but then attack at the same time. So we can be more aggressive, a bit more front-footed. And so I think that's why Frank probably opted for the two youthful players in Papa Matissar, who's box-to-box, and also Bergvall, who's box-to-box. Then you've got Paulinho there, just as a bit of experience to show the two. And like most people would say, most games are won in midfield. And maybe that's what he was thinking in terms of also having Xavi. I think he was blooded him in, obviously, because, and we'll probably talk about it, but it's his first game into the Premier League, the pace of the league as well, and utilizing him as a left wide player who likes to drift into the pockets or the half space, whatever you want to call it. I think maybe he looked at that as something that might throw them off, because they've got Kyle Walker-Peters, who, let's face it, he's one of our ex-players, but he, came from Southampton. He's replacing Wan-Bissaka on that right-hand side, and maybe he saw that as a way in to maybe to introduce Simmons with Spence overlapping at times, and that could cause them a few issues. But then obviously Kudos, for me, on that wide area on the opposite flank, he's a cheat code in himself. So maybe that's where I look at. He looked at West Ham's flaws and he thought, this is how I'm going to set my team up. And I think it pretty much played out, because I honestly think the first 15 minutes they had, as we said before, and then after that, I think Spurs edged it, because at half time, the commentators were saying, Spurs deserve to be in the lead. And in the second half, within like 90 seconds, we already
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Obviously, James Maddison was at Leicester, Ward-Prowse was at Southampton. Would you say both players, obviously with Maddison being at Spurs now from Leicester and Ward-Prowse being from Southampton for West Ham, would you say they were two players both in the wrong team?
I'd say that Ward-Prowse, obviously, he's been at Southampton all his life, right? So he's one of those.
But I mean, technical ability.
I think Ward-Prowse is more of a deep lying kind of midfielder, whereas I think with Maddison, he's a player that can play multiple positions. He played as a right midfielder, a left midfielder, a left winger, shadow striker, attacking mid, centre mid. And obviously he's played at, remember, we were scouting him since Norwich days. Yeah. And we're looking at, and obviously he's come from Coventry, but at Norwich, he was doing bits in the Championship, and we were looking to bring him in. We tracked him all the way, and he went to Leicester, and he did his thing, man. So both players were touted at the time. I remember we looked at Maddison, a lot of the fans, or was split, I think. A lot of fans wanted Ward-Prowse because he was more the passer, and a lot of fans wanted Maddison because he had a bit of more guile, a bit more of that kind of X factor, someone that can just, drop a shoulder and create something out of a, drop of a hat. So he's that type of player. And obviously I think you're always going to have players like Maddison's and Ward-Prowse's in smaller clubs that outshine. And some people don't know if they can make the jump. So
that's what I'm saying. Do you think the likes of Ward-Prowse would walk into most other Premier League teams?
It's a hard one to say, because for me, Ward-Prowse, obviously, like I said, he's a deep line playmaker. Not really. It depends what team he walks into, because I think in a team like Spurs, at first I wasn't a fan, because I like a player that can get around the pitch, is mobile, can do what Maddison does, basically drop a shoulder, a bit more flary. I think that's more Spurs, But Ward-Prowse is more like control from deep. Obviously, he's set piece FC. Like he's that's really good. On
the do you think he'd thrive? Do you think he'd thrive in a different club to what he is at West Ham? Do you think he'd get more out of him?
I don't know. At this age, I'm not too sure, bro.
How old is he now? Is he late 30s, early 30s?
Yeah, must be early 30s now. I'll double check for you, man. Ward-Prowse.
Go on, you check, then we'll move on.
Yeah, he is. What is his age?
He must be early 30s. You would have thought now. But he's got much to give.
I mean, he's not quick, is he? He sort of lumbers around the pitch a bit. It's my kind of reservation.
it was just interesting to find out. Obviously, the way Ash talks about tactics and stuff like that, it was just interesting to find out. Obviously,
He's 30 years old.
He's 30, yeah.
30. Yeah.
See, I do have opposition preview with a fan of every club before the game, and it's interesting because the West Ham fan I spoke to said if Souček and Ward-Prowse both start together in midfield, whether it be as a 2 or as a 3, we lose this game, was his words. And I think his general point is that he doesn't want to see them two together. I think he texted me when Mateus Fernandes started. He's very happy with that, but he wanted their new signer, Masaka, to start in that midfield. He just doesn't want to see Souček and Ward-Prowse. His point is they both offer something, particularly Souček with his height and that presence from set pieces, but they both haven't got the legs, as Ash was saying. So that's the thing that West Ham fans feel exactly the same, to back Ash up on that. But let's
even sorry, well, last bit, Harry. I think Fernandes would have been better in the midfield rather than have him out wide. And I think the way they
that's the thing. He's never played there. Really,
he's never played out. Yeah, for Southampton, he never used to play out wide. So I was surprised in that. But I think that West Ham's press was very lethargic, wasn't really aggressive. It was ponderous at times, and that also helped us, in my opinion. But carry on, sorry.
No, absolutely. No, thank you for adding that. And I think you're right. And what really surprised me, because I've been honest with you, no expert, no manager, but I think Potter got it wrong. Why is Paquetá almost that false 9 and Bowen's on the right? For me, Bowen should be leading that line. Fernandes should be in that midfield. He probably should have gone with his new signing, Masaka, in that midfield. So lots of questionable decisions that Graham Potter made, but he does find himself in a tricky position. Can he get out of it is the question. But progressing on this game, to want to get to Villarreal eventually. 57th minute, goal for Tottenham to make it 2-0 through Lucas Bergwijn. His first ever Premier League goal for Spurs in what was his 50th appearance for his clubs for Tottenham. So he's waited a little while for it and he's got it, which is fantastic. But Travis, to come to you, I mean, it's a really good header, isn't it? I think it's one of those that's a lot harder than it looks, to get it up and over the keeper, but also keep it under the crossbar.
Unbelievable. I mean, let's be honest, Lucas Bergwijn is not the tallest player in the Premier League, is he? So to get that in and to jump to get that in the back of the net was, I mean, my jaw dropped. So did my stepsons. We couldn't believe what we were seeing. We thought we were seeing prime Barcelona from what he done there. Very, very good. And I think Bergwijn, he was going to go to Barcelona. He chose to come to Tottenham. He's a very promising aspect, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how he excels this season. But yeah, absolutely fantastic goal from such a young player. Absolutely brilliant.
Before we go further into Bergwijn, we'll talk about Romero in this, because Joseph, what a pass from Romero, wasn't it? To catch West Ham out, I just think, wow, that just really showcases what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, it felt Villarreal to Dele Alli-esque, didn't it? Like seeing that long ball go over the top, and it was just perfect. It was the perfect way. People don't realise how perfect that pass is. If he puts a little bit more on it, it goes out probably for a goal kick, or the keeper comes and gets it. If there's a little bit less on it, the defender gets there. It's a perfect run by Bergwijn as well. And it's just, straight after, I think it's 9 seconds after the red card, after the restart, we just play a long ball over the top and Bergwijn's there. And again, give so much credit to Bergwijn, because that is not an easy finish at all. Like you said, he's got to kind of make it perfect in terms of getting over the keeper, but not going over the bar. And it's just great to see the quality we have in our team. I mean, there was moments last year where sometimes when I was watching us, I was like, where is the actual quality of our football players? These are all international footballers, but they seem to be very disconnected. But that, it looked like they'd done that 1,000 times in training and they were ready for it, and it was just perfectly executed. Christian Romero, I can't believe how, I'm so happy he's our captain. He's signed a new deal. He is unbelievable. He's going to, he's one of the best centre-backs in the Premier League, and we've been able to hold on to that. One of the best centre-backs in the world. And to show that he also has that passing range is just unbelievable that we kept him. And I can't wait. I know we'll come on to all the man of the matches and stuff. He's got to be up there as a possibility for one of them, because he was so good. Yeah, absolutely. Again, agree. Joseph, can I stick with you? Because the question in the YouTube chat, I'm going to read it if people can't see it, listen on our podcast platform. Spurs Diehards, a very good channel, and great to have a couple of them come on here regularly. They put a question for the panel. Do you think Romero makes that pass to Bergwijn at 0-0? If that was the score, what do you think? I mean, it was 1-0 at the time when he did make that pass. Yeah, no, I do think he does. I mean, maybe Bergval's not in that position, making that run at 0-0. Maybe with, you know, the more players, obviously Souček on the pitch and things like that, it's a bit of a different story. I think Romero would make that pass if he sees the run going, you know, if he sees a player running over. Because I mean, we see him do it a number of times. He's made that pass a number of times to different players. So I don't see why Romero wouldn't do it. He's definitely a player to take that chance. But yeah, whether Bergval would have been making that run in that moment would have been different. I know this is slightly off topic, but obviously I don't know if we were going to talk about Matthias Tell. I think a thing that we've mentioned previously is, you know, he did struggle in this game partly, and it's partly because he's not the striker that Solanke is or Richarlison is. He's not this hold-up striker that's going to kind of back down a defender and lay the ball off. The way I actually see him and the way that I think he can operate is either on the wing, or if you're going to play him as a striker, he needs to play a little bit like what João Pedro does for Chelsea. He should be coming deep and getting on the ball, be given freedom to kind of go around the pitch. And unfortunately, in Frank's system, you don't really have as much freedom as the striker. We kind of need you to kind of be central and kind of take away, you know, the centre back from doubling up on the wingers and stuff like that. But you know, that's the kind of run that I want to see Matthias Tell kind of making. You know, he doesn't have the physicality, and he was getting dominated physically by Max Gilman and things like that. But he needs to use his pace. He needs to, you know, make those runs and kind of maybe sometimes drop deep and get involved in the game. It's a shame that he didn't do more of that. Maybe again instruction, and you know, maybe he was instructed not to. But again, you know, we know our centre backs can do that, or at least we know Romero can do that. So we need the striker to sometimes gamble and make that run. And it's a shame that kind of Tell wasn't doing that more. But again, it was great to see Bergval do it. And sometimes maybe it does take a midfielder coming up because the defenders aren't expecting that kind of run from a midfielder.
Thank you, Joseph. A couple of really important points there. Thank you very much for that. We'll get on to, I think, Tell a little bit later. It's a very good point you do raise. Before we get on to the third goal, I do want to keep focusing on this second goal and go into a bit about Lucas Bergval, because a couple of, well, I think, really impressive stats here, if not mind-blowing. So let me read it out. This is important. Lucas Bergval is Tottenham's youngest goal scorer at 19 years and 223 days in a Premier League match since Dele Alli, who was 19 years of age and 205 days old, so ever so slightly younger. And that was against Aston Villa in November 2015, so nearly 10 years ago. And also another stat, and this one's even more impressive, from Opta, who said that Lucas Bergval, we just found out, 19 years and 223 days old, is the second youngest player to register a goal and an assist in a Premier League match for Tottenham after Nick Barmby, who was 18 years of age and 321 days old. That was versus Nottingham Forest in December 1992. I mean, Ashmatic, your stats guy, your analysis guy, I mean, they're impressive stats, aren't they? Come on, they're mind-blowing.
Yeah, very promising. And yeah, hats off to him, because he's the one that kind of put himself in and out. Like, Romero doesn't make that pass. Just to echo what Joseph was saying, Romero doesn't make that pass unless he sees the run from Lucas Bergval. And Lucas Bergval, I think it was quick thinking as well, because we caught them with their pants down. And he's shown a lot of character, bravery, and fearlessness. And some might say early, I don't want to go too far, but early signs of leadership. And the reason why I say early signs of leadership is because before he came, I remember when he took his under-18 team from Sweden to a competition, it was, and they had to play all the top teams. Bayern Munich was there. There was Juventus, it was Barcelona, and I think they met Barcelona in the final. And they captured it on video, and he was the captain, he was the leader. And he said, "We don't care that they're Barcelona. We came here all by ourselves." And he was just rallying up the troops with a passionate talk. It reminded me of something from like 300. It was like a 300 speech, a Spartacus speech. And I was riled up. I was like, listen, I feel pumped. So for him to do it at a young age and then carry this trajectory on from last season, where we had a tough season, he had to kind of come through that. And then this season, he's kind of had to make his claim because there's a new manager in town. He didn't start against Bournemouth, as I said before, but he came on, he made a difference. He started this game. I would say he's still got a lot to learn. And it's not just me that thinks that. Frank said it as well. He talks about positionally. He needs to know when to press and when to make the runs. And he was talking about the first half especially. And I spoke about earlier in the podcast. There was times when Paulinho, he's the number 6, and West Ham, they were doing a 4-4-2 mid block, and the two strikers, well, not two strikers, but the striker and Paqueta, Bowen and Paqueta, they were the front two, right? And Paulinho was behind those two, which means essentially he's blocked. That passing lane is blocked. The next passing option in the central area was meant to be Sarr, but Sarr was also high up. There was times when Sarr did drop into the midfield to make a slight 2, like a lopsided 2. But more time, Bergvall, as I said before, he was high up the pitch. So there's going to be times when Bergvall needs to drop in to help with the build-up, because he does have the ability to scan and get on the turn and then push us up the pitch, because he does have that ability. Equally, I wouldn't put that all on him, because you've got an experienced player in Paulinho that needs to talk to his player and say, bro, I need you here to help me navigate or circumvent this ball progression through the central area. That's why we didn't look so strong in that first 15-20 minutes. It's why we didn't create so many chances in open play. If you take away the actual set pieces, right? Because if you think about it, Bergvall's goal came off the back of a set piece. And so if you take those set pieces away, our open play expected goals, I know people don't like that stat, it's reduced a whole lot, compared to if we had the set pieces played in. So we still have things to learn. And this is where I'm being very critical on Bergvall, because I think he is an exceptional player and he will do well. But that's when he needs to know when to be in the midfield and when to vacate the midfield. And that's what I think Thomas Frank was alluding to in terms of movement, offensively and defensively as well. When you don't have the ball, he needs to know when to jump and when not to jump, and when to help with the build up, and etc. etc. But I'm sure that will come with over time. And what a player he's turning out to be. I just want to see more goals like that, more exceptional goals, because he has got it in him. And also I just want to see a bit more vision from him like I said at the start. I want to see him pick out those balls into the front line and help supply players like Tell. I agree with Joseph what you're saying about Tell. I think Tell is an inside forward, in my opinion. I don't think he's a number 9. And so I think what Frank wanted to do with him is improve his hold-up play. There's times as well in our build-up play where we need to be direct and we need to fire it into the number 9. And that means the number 9 needs to drop in the hole. Now, Tell did do that sometimes, but he wasn't always successful at holding onto the ball and alleviating pressure from that kind of middle third, because sometimes you're not always able to build up through the middle thirds. Sometimes you want to go direct and then pass it on to your wingers or a player making a third run, which is normally Bergvall running into the space. So I think that's 100%. What Tell has to work on, being a bit more physical, looking after it. And he had the same, when I was doing the scouting on Tell, that's what I did pick up on him. I did pick up that he needs to work on his physicality in terms of his hold-up play. His link-up play needs to improve as well, because there are times when his link-up play isn't as good as it should be. And it's also his movements, knowing when to bend those runs in between the fullback and the centre-back. And there was a time when Spence had the ball and I was like, where is Tell? Tell should be in this dangerous area. And if you're a centre forward and you're a striker, instinctively you'll be in that position. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, Bergvall, top player, and he's going to be a superstar.
Some very good points. Thank you, Ashmatic there. I love the kind of constructive feedback for Bergvall. And Frank, you're right. He did speak about Bergvall. Frank says, first and foremost, I think his performance was good today. I really like his energy, his pressing skill, his enthusiasm. I think he drags the team with him in a kind of way, and there's so much he can learn and improve. So I think that's a promising as well. Let's progress. 64th minute, goal for Spurs, make it 3-0, the cherry on top through Mickey van der Ven. Mike, I mean, it was a striker's finish from Van der Ven, and I mean, a good move overall with Bergvall finding that space and playing the pass.
Icky scores goals. He gets it done. I mean, that was phenomenal. Right peg as well. So not his common left. And I think it's quite funny because you saw Frank saying to him afterwards, it doesn't count. You need to score more headers, which is what he wants from him. And fair play because he's 6'5" or whatnot. But, him and Romero are kicking goals. They're scoring regularly and it's fantastic. It's very exciting. They're both, I think for me, the Van de Ven story is not complete without the Romero story of that perfectly balanced centre back pairing that they always say is a bit like the Tonganel Duero days, where it's sort of cat and dog. You've got your perfect athletic, rangy kind of loping defender who cleans up and does everything he needs to. Then you've got your dominant big Argentinian brute in the front, kind of dictating play and leading from the front foot. So I'm loving them play together, not just for what they do for the team, but to see them actually having an impact on the scoreboard and getting forward and kicking goals is just sensational too. And the other thing I want to say about Mickey, I love it when he scores goals. What even gets me more jacked is his full pace lunging slide tackles where he just slides along, gets the ball cleanly, gets back on his feet and continues running. That bloke is just a racehorse and I love watching him play.
Lovely stuff. Thank you. Sticking with you, Mike. I mean, it did end West Ham 0, Tottenham 3 in the end, as we know. I mean, would it be fair to say it was a comfortable, win, a comfortable Derby Day win?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, look, I think it's always nice to get a win like this in a derby where we're all saying that we haven't had a lot of derby success of late. It's not been a happy hunting ground at West Ham. So before a Champions League fixture, where we'll get to see a lot of our old discarded blokes in that game, it's always good to get the confidence up for a nice win. So very happy. 3-0 is probably as I was saying before, it does make us probably a bit overconfident and look a bit better than what we are. I mean, we were very good, but West Ham are just a rabble, and I just think that that's important to be aware of. Tactically, a complete mess. Out of form, not the right players in the right places. But yeah, I think we're looking the goods at the minute.
Absolutely, thank you. And Travis, I mean, the perfect response to that Bournemouth setback before the international break. We know Tottenham, we never seem to win before the international break, but we put it right now. That'd be fair.
Yeah, obviously a great way to finish. Yeah, I think Mike's nailed it perfectly there. To be fair, I thought we was just absolutely superb. But obviously, we've been here before, and as Mike quite rightly said, West Ham are a complete rabble and so tactically unorganised and just not very good, really, are they? At the moment, so yeah, positive result, obviously, but we've been here before, so give it another 5-6 games and we'll see where we are. But at the moment, I'm loving what Frank is doing to the team.
Absolutely, and aren't we all? Good start to the season. Thank you for that one. I mean, I think we were very, very good in this game, but if it had to be slightly awkward, be one of them. I mean, Joseph Kuda's goal at the end to make it 4-0, not only to win by more, but him in particular here. I mean, that was all that's missing, wasn't it? That would have been, we talk about cherry on top, what the icing on top, the complete package.
Yeah, I was literally about to say it would have been the icing on the cake because you could tell towards the end of the game he was really desperate for it. Like, I don't know if it was maybe from the booing from the crowd that kind of got him even more into the game, or just kind of maybe it's a feeling of finally kind of getting away from West Ham and getting to a better club. I think maybe he was just desperate to get that goal against his old club, but it really would have. But again, he was impressive throughout the game. There was a lot of players, I think, that really performed well. And, he really tried. He really was trying to either get an assist, get on the score sheet. And it was a great save by Hermansen. I think most of the goals he couldn't do anything about, so I can't blame him much. But that was a terrific save from him. So, unfortunate for Kudus. But again, 3-0 win, I'm sure he's happy enough.
I'm absolutely sure he is.
They're just such a bitter bunch, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
they are.
Good to see, innit? I mean, again, like we've said, it is their kind of cup final. For us, it's just another game, and we just go there and show that it's just another game for us. So it was a great kind of stroll around the park.
Lovely. How good is it to say that? It's such a horrible record there, even when they haven't been great, West Ham. So it's nice to be able to change that. But Joseph, can I stick with you? And I've got to ask this question, being kind of as neutral as possible and ask difficult questions. I know he's annoying, but did that red card for West Ham impact the game at all? And if so, how much did it impact it?
Yeah, no, I think completely. I think it did. This is the one thing I would say, and again, I as much as I am really happy with how the game, panned out, I think the red card did significantly change how we were playing. And again, I think even after we went 1-0 up, it was still a feeling, even though we were dominating the game, there was still a feeling of, okay, well, West Ham can still get back in this. Only one goal. We aren't creating loads of goal scoring chances. We're getting most of our chances from set pieces. We're not creating much from open play. As much as they're not creating much, again, it takes one moment for them to get a goal and it's back to level terms. And once that red card, I think West Ham's heads just completely went, especially when us kind of compiling on the misery after we scored 9 seconds afterwards. So, it ended up being a really comfortable second half because of that red card. And I think maybe if he stayed on the pitch, that game could have, I'm not saying we wouldn't have won it, but it still could have been a bit more contentious. But no, I mean, the red card, I think, really sealed the fate for West Ham. And I think a lot of fans realised that and left early, which was nice to see as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with you. I do think we were in control of the game. I think we probably would have won, but you just don't know. That's the thing. And you make some really good points. Of course,
it's Premier League football, isn't it? I mean, we saw it the game afterwards. I mean, Chelsea completely dictated the game against Brentford, and Brentford ended up getting a point. It's just how football goes, and sometimes all it takes is one moment from Jared Bowen. We know what he can be. He's a terrific player. Yeah. One moment from him, one moment from Lucas Paqueta, a moment of a lapse in concentration from our defence, and it's 1-1. This is what the Premier League is. It's very competitive. So yeah, I think the red card, it's also the reaction from the West Ham players and the fans. I think it, as much as obviously a red card is never a positive thing, sometimes it can kind of even still it can give you a little bit of a galvanized feeling when you're like, okay, look, we're down 10, we've got to try even harder now. We've really got to, dig our feet in and stay in this game. And they just wilted. They completely wilted. And maybe that shows the state where West Ham are in right now in terms of the club as a whole, with the management, with the ownership. I know, a couple of West Ham fans, and they're really frustrated at where West Ham are at right now. And I completely understand it. It's tough for them. But I think, the whole feeling around West Ham was embodied by how those players reacted to going, and how the fans reacted to going 2-0 down in that red card.
Good point. I would say there's not immense pressure at this moment in time under Potter in terms of maybe what it was pre-Nottingham Forest. I think that Forest result was so big and maybe unexpected for them. But not only that, I think they recognise that a lot of their problems is upstairs. It is with the owners, with the board. Because don't get me wrong, there's pressure. But, if we go back to West Ham where, believe it or not, they're frustrated with Moyes, or whether it be the end of the Lopetegui kind of era, they all waited deliberately at the end, loud boos, and it's really uncomfortable. And we've seen that several times with West Ham over the last few years, even pre-Moyes and post-Moyes, not during his time.
Well, really, you're right, Harry. You've got to be careful what you wish for, because they wished for David Moyes to leave. He's left. He's gone on to Everton, and they're looking very good at the moment, Everton. And West Ham they're in a really, really bad way, and it is a real, they are a relegation contender, and that is not something that West Ham fans were expecting a couple of years ago after winning the UEFA Conference League. They were hoping to keep on pushing on, but that comes from a multitude of things. First of all, again, maybe the management and maybe the players on the pitch, but also the ownership. And again, obviously, I don't love West Ham. Of course, I don't. I'm a Tottenham fan, but it's still a shame to see a club run quite poorly like West Ham are. I think they are struggling, and they don't deserve that. The fans are they're still true fans. They love their club, and they deserve a bit more than that. But obviously, again, in that game, all I care about is Tottenham getting the 3 points, and it was nice to see a team that is so focused on Tottenham end up getting battered by us. So yeah.
100%. And with West Ham, I never forget, obviously, David Moyes delivered that European trophy for them. Whatever people think of it, it's still a trophy. We can all laugh, we have won something better at the end of the day. But for them, it is quite significant. I'm not going to mock any celebrations even at the time for that. But I will say, I won't forget, when they had Lingard on loan, I think it was Jesse Lingard on loan from Man United that season. I think, can't remember, it's 5th or 6th in the end, but they were 2 points away only from the top 4. And that's just mind blowing. If you sit and think from it, 2 points away from 4th. And I believe they got to a cup quarter final as well. So they were really pushing the limits. And what Moyes done was, I think goes under the radar, but we'll leave that one for another day. But the reason I asked you the question is, West Ham in this game did play 10 men in the end with 41 minutes, but difficult then. Before we do move on to Villarreal, I want to know who your players of the match are, or man of the match. So I'm going to go to every one of you in no particular order. So do be thinking. I mean, there are some contenders that may be above the rest that are very, very impressive in this game. But the point is probably a little bit difficult because everyone played well. I'm going to kick it off with you, Mike. Who is your man of the match? Assuming it will be a Tottenham player. I think there's no question about that.
Oh, look, Bergvall was great, but I would give it to the Saar boy. I mean, I think he's just phenomenal. Everything he was doing around the pitch, his movement, his passing, his tactical awareness for a young player, his goal, superb performance all round from me. So I'll go with the Saar boy for my player of the match.
Very, very good shout. What a player he's been and so important to Frank. Thank you, Mike. Travis, who's your man of the match, mate?
This is quite a tough one for me, and I think this is probably the hardest man of the match we've had for a good while, to be fair, H. I'm going to go Lucas Bergvall. It's so close with Pat Matissar, and I quite rightly understand why Mike has chosen Sarr, because he was he's everywhere. But I just think Lucas Bergvall, and I think he's going to be a massive player for Tottenham. So and I thought he was outstanding in the West Ham match. That header he scored is just different class, different gravy. So yeah, it's Lucas Bergvall for me.
Okay, thank you. No, not surprised with the two names we've heard so far. Thank you. Ashmatic, have you got anyone different in mind, or is it going to be Pap? Is it going to be Lucas?
You know what? You could mention honorary mentions of Romero, Mickey Van der Ven. I think the back line was solid. They hardly breached our back line. And defensively as well, set pieces, they look solid. And, Van der Ven got on the score sheet as well. But I have to go with, for me, it has to be Bergvall, because he did get the goal and the assist. I think that's what makes the difference. He did have a few nice touches as well. You could see he's confident. He was trying little back heels and little letting the ball run across his body, little dummies and stuff. And the link-up play was there as well. And he started to grow into his own in that second half. But as Joseph has mentioned, when they went to 10 men, I think he saw that a lot more players step forwards because there was more spaces opening up. Positions were vacated, so we were able to be a bit more front-footed in that area. But yeah, again, it's going to do wonders for both of their confidence in Sarr as well. But yeah, I'm going to give it to Bergvall, because that goal, that finish, it's not an easy finish, and he's got to make that run for Romero to make that pass, and then he's got to execute it as well. And then to do that in the box just showed his confidence and capped off the day he had as well at the London Stadium.
Very, very good mention. Thank you, Ashmatic. I love the little explanation behind it too. Thank you. And Joseph, who's your man of the match for the West Ham win?
I'll go with Tony Vidal. I'll go with Romero. I think he just embodied everything about that performance. He was professional. I've loved how he's really taken this captaincy and he's really leading the team. I genuinely feel like I see him on the pitch and he leads not just by example, but also genuinely dictates what players are doing and tries to control the game. And he just does control the game with the way he plays. He deserves a goal. He should have scored. He should be a goal scorer as well as getting an assist from that game. And I can't stop singing his praises. I think we're so lucky to have Christian Romero at Tottenham.
We absolutely are. I mean, I'm not going to ask any of you how important it is that Van der Ven, Romero, keep fit this season, because we all know the answer to that. But honestly, it's so important that both of them ideally avoid any injuries at all, but as few as possible and be out for a little time as possible. No big injuries that we've seen in the last couple of seasons. But tell you what, one last thing I promise before Villarreal, because so far this season we've been really impressive. We've got to briefly discuss it. So just to summarise, Tottenham sit third in the Premier League table. I know we don't look at tables this stage unless you are at the top, which we are in this case. It's 3 wins from 4 Premier League games. So that's 9 out of a possible 12 points. 3 clean sheets, as you mentioned earlier. 8 goals scored. and only 1 conceded, and a positive 7 goal difference. The only team with a better goal difference, unfortunately, is, I believe, Arsenal. We just won, though, more goal difference. I mean, Ashmatic, what a good start to the season this has been. Would that be fair to say? Not, of course, oh my God, world class, because that'd be, of course, maximum points. But it's been a really good start. I think that's fair to say.
Listen, I was nervous because I looked at the opening lineup, match fixtures, and I thought it's very important that we get to a good start. And lots of people look at those fixtures and think, these are winnable fixtures. They're very easy to collect 3 points. But we all know this is the Premier League and this is Spurs, the unpredictable becomes inevitable. Do you know what I mean? And so even against West Ham, I was a bit nervous because we just don't have a good record there. So for us to come away, not just with the 3 points, but a clean sheet as well, and the goals as well, I was so happy for the start we made. Bournemouth, for me, that game was a well-drilled team further along their development. That's what that showed for me. And I was like, we will eventually get to that level where we're able to press in the way that they press and be organized in the way they are. It's very early, in Frank's tenure, and he's still learning about the personalities, what makes people tick, because he's a bit of a philosopher, but he's a psychologist as well, where he will look at and study each person's demeanor. He wants to know what makes them tick. So he's still understanding the dynamics and also just how his team plays, where the weaknesses are. And I think he would have learned a lot from that Bournemouth loss. And that's the reason why I go back to it, because you actually learn more from your losses than you do from your wins, I believe. And so when he got that loss, I think he was very open and he said, I got it wrong, which was really refreshing for a lot of Spurs fans to hear. And he said, you know what? I watched it back and I realized I got it really wrong. So that means that he was trying to change things. And he did do that in the West Ham game, I believe, in terms of the lineup, where he tweaked things and he changed the actual lineup itself. The personnel in the lineup. And then in the second half, he addressed a few things that he thought weren't quite right. And he tweaked a few things tactically. So I like the fact that he's adapting along the way, seeing his wrongs, trying to talk to his team and trying to get things right, as the game goes in. His in-game management seems to be well, because I do like the fact when the players were coming off, he was smiling, he was laughing with them, he was saying something, he was encouraging them. Obviously, we spoke about Tell, being left outside that Champions League squad, him missing that penalty as well, and Frank just putting his arm around him and including him into this team. But the one worry I will say is I don't want Frank to be this type of nice teacher, where he's feeling sorry for players and he's including them because he may think someone didn't have a chance. Or I want him to pick the best team possible, the one that he thinks is the strongest. And that's only my slight concern with the whole Tell thing. But I heart of hearts, I think maybe they saw something in Tell where they wanted to see him in that position. They wanted to see him up front, and they said, right, let's try him here, and let's see if we can coach him, and let's see if we can get the best out of him. Because there's a lot of players, in my opinion, that do need the coaching and do need to be taken up a level. And I think that's what they've been brought here to do. And so I'm quite excited in terms of where Frank can also upskill and improve players, but where he can adapt along the way. Because I don't think it's going to be a quick fix. A lot of people are, quite excited at the moment, but there will be, as Ange used to say, a few bumps in the road. So 6 months into it, I think we'll have a better understanding. November, actually. I think November we'll know. Because I know November run is quite tricky.
Tough, yeah. Very, very tough. Thank you, Ashmatic, for that. I mean, Joseph, I got asked the question. I just thought of it, actually. I mean, was Daniel Levy the curse all along? I mean, he goes in the game after we get our biggest win at West Ham since 1962 and the first win at the London Stadium in 6 years.
I just realised, actually, this is the first time I've been on since Daniel Levy's gone.
There you go. Historic.
Yeah, historic day. No, look, I mean, I'm not going to say that he was the voodoo, so to say. I'm not going to say that, but obviously I'm happy to see the back of him, and hopefully we'll be seeing a lot of change coming in the next years for Tottenham. But again, it's just great to see us go to, again, a rival game and just win very comfortably. It doesn't feel like we had a lot of that under Ange. We had every game felt quite close and quite tight. It wasn't usually dominating wins all the time. And so far we've had realistically 3 games in the Premier League where we completely and utterly deserved the win. I mean, we dominated City away at the Etihad and it was a comfortable win. We dominated Burnley at home and we dominated West Ham away. So that's great to see. We got to just keep it going. We've got a good run of fixtures now. Villarreal obviously tomorrow night, but then Brighton, which they haven't started great. Obviously, they've been a bit inconsistent with how they're playing. So again, we've got to keep it going. And again, like Ash said before, there's no easy games in the Premier League, especially, and there's definitely no easy games in the Champions League. So we've got to be on form. Hopefully, again, having this kind of, bigger squad, a bit more squad depth, we can see, players interchange and maybe not see as many injuries that caused such a derail of last season.
Let's hope so, but the new era is well off and running in style as well, because a lot of change that happened at the club this summer. I think we'll cope with it very, very well. Very excited myself what to come. But let's move on now to Villarreal, because I have kept you all waiting. Joseph, we'll come right back to you again. How are you feeling about this one?
I'm really excited for it. Again, finally back in the Champions League. Really excited to hear the anthem and be under the lights again, Tottenham, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Again, there's nothing like it, really. Villarreal are a decent side. I'm not too scared of them, but again, they're not a bad team. They haven't been too bad to start the season. They've got a couple of decent players that, again, they could cause us some issues. So we've got to be ready for it. But I really, I think Tottenham have got to put a statement out there and show they mean business. And tomorrow night is the perfect moment for that. I think after that Bournemouth game, a lot of people kind of stopped for a minute and went, "Are Tottenham really back? Are Tottenham going to be this force again? Pushing for top 4 again, all this kind of thing." And I think tomorrow we can put a statement, win down and really show what we can do. I think there's a great chance to do that, because Villarreal are no slouches. They're a decent side. They've got some quality players in Mikatadze up front. Obviously Juan Foyth, ex-Tottenham, at the back. They've got a couple of good young Spanish players in Sergio Cardona, Alberto Meliero. So they've got a couple of really promising players, and obviously ex-Arsenal Thomas Partey. Hope someone breaks his leg. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, really looking forward to it tomorrow. I just can't wait to see Tottenham back playing in the Champions League.
Echo my thoughts exactly. 100% well said. I mean, Mike, are you excited to be back in the Champions League? It feels right associating Tottenham with being in the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely pumped. It's going to be great to be back. I mean, obviously we're European champions, so we deserve to be where we are. And, maybe not at the top comp, but certainly at Europa League. So, look, excited. I think it'll be a good opportunity to see whether they can adapt to the big stage. And with all the focus on bringing in players with Champions League experience, it'll be telling to see whether they can step up and do what Frank has recruited them for. So that'll be good too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mike. Travis, I mean, you're looking forward as well to hearing the Champions League anthem under the lights. We spoke about it a lot, haven't we? How it was our aim this season. We wanted to get back in Champions League, and we were like, "Oh, it's not going to happen." We're 17th. Well, it did happen by winning the Europa League.
Do you know what? I'm getting goosebumps right now just hearing that anthem blaring at my TV at 8:00 tomorrow night, whether the baby's in bed or not. I'm really not bothered. But I echo Joseph's thoughts on Thomas Partey. I can happily see Romero sticking one straight on him and putting him into row Z. Yeah. Is it Nicolas Pepe or Partey?
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, you're right. Well done.
Yeah, they've got both. They've got both of them.
Oh, they've got both of they.
Yeah. To be fair, that's actually one thing. Can Thomas Partey play tomorrow? Is that actually, because I know he was charged with something in the UK, wasn't he? Now,
very, very good point. I didn't think he could travel to London, but I could be wrong. Good point.
See. If he is there, I don't mind if somebody gets a red card if they give him one.
I think Romero's going to be a very, very busy boy tomorrow night. Let's be honest.
Yeah, a party won't be there. It'll be Pap Sarr's teammate, national teammate will be there. Gray. He'll be playing alongside the
Parejo.
It'll be Gray and Comasana in the midfield, I reckon, in the 4-4-2. So yeah, Party will be at home.
Who's the gaffer of
at least we don't have to deal with
Villarreal
him again.
now? Who's the gaffer of Villarreal now?
The gaffer, his name is Marcelino.
Okay.
Yeah, Marcelino. I can't remember who he used to manage, but he's quite a pragmatic manager. As you can see by the formations 4-4-2, that tells you
Yeah.
everything you need to know. So they're going to be they're going to do a low block. I heard that against one of the relegation sides, they did a low block. And they had the better XG. They had 30% of the ball, but the XG was crazy. Like the expected goals was really high. So they're going to let us have a lot of the ball. They're going to sit back, be compact. And again, it's going to be that whole thing where will Spurs bother to attack centrally, or will we go down the wings? I think we'll go down the wings again. And it'll be interesting to see who starts on that left side. I'm sure, as part of your notes, Scarfy, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Who will start on that the left-hand side for Spurs? I think the doggy will start as a left back, but yeah,
as left back.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
I think to be fair,
Spence. It's got to be Spence. Got to be Spence.
I think a doggy's got to play at some point. Spence can't play every minute, and a doggy is capable.
Yeah, no,
he's shown that he is. He's an international footballer. So, and on the left wing, who knows? I mean, it could be Johnson again. It could be Xavi again. You could maybe even try Odebear there. Colin Moani is one I'm really excited to see kind of put on the Spurs shirt at some point. Whether he will play up front or left wing, who knows?
What do you think it should be? That's what I want to know. What would be your ideal front three like going into this game? Knowing that we're home, it's our first Champions League game, and we got to break down a low block 4-4-2.
It's got to be Kudus, Richarlison, or Colin Moani. It's hard because I watched a lot of Juventus last year. So I saw a lot of Colin Moani, and I think he's a really good striker. I think he's got a lot of potential for Spurs. But I do see him as a striker. I don't see him as a winger. I know some people have suggested he could be a winger instead. I do see him as a striker. So maybe I'd have Colin Moani up front if we do believe he could be the striker for Spurs. But if not, maybe Richarlison. And then on the left, I'd probably go Odebear. I think Odebear's got such a high ceiling at Spurs, and he's the one he's the most like Kudus on the left, someone who can really beat his man and create something. So I think I'd have Odebear there.
Yeah, I was going to say, Joseph, can I give you this question from the YouTube chat before we do move on? It says Odebear, it's from Spurs Die Hard. It says Odebear is a present most natural left winger at the moment. Should Frank give him a run of games? Do you think?
Yeah, no, I think definitely he should, and I completely agree. I think Odebear is our most natural left winger at present. Obviously, Xavi Simons started there yesterday. Sorry, when we played West Ham on Saturday, but I think Xavi Simons should be playing through the middle. I think he's what we need sometimes to progress the ball through the middle. Either with him running with the ball or with him just kind of maybe making the right pass and things like that. But I don't know. I guess I remember on the transfer podcast we did on transfer deadline day, the one thing I think all of us were hoping for was a left winger. Obviously, we got Colin Moani and we didn't get that natural left winger. I know we were looking at Rodgers and Savinho and all these players over the window, and none of them kind of came through. But I think that's still a position Tottenham will need to address moving forward. So I think Odebear right now is the best option, and obviously he has been included in the squad for a reason. So I think Frank will hopefully look to utilise him at some point. I don't see why we should use Johnson on the left over Odebear. That's one thing I don't get. I know they want to play Johnson. I know Kudus right now feels undroppable, but to me, he just doesn't work there, and it should be Odebear if we are going to start, a natural left winger on that side.
Good shout. Before we get on to score predictions to end, Mike, ticket prices. I've got to talk about them, I'm afraid, because there is a lot of empty seats. As things stands for the game, we've said this several times before, and when we wake up the next morning, boom, or when we get to the game, there's hardly any empty seats. I've seen this before, and fans being concerned about this, for it to not lead to anything, but it doesn't look good at the moment, and tickets are extremely expensive. It's obviously a shame Spurs being back in the Champions League. Can you understand, Mike, maybe the club's point of view, and can you understand also the fans' point of view that they're annoyed about the price of this, which is stopping people going to the game? What do you think, Mike? Have you got your mic?
Yeah, there are you, Trav?
Do you hear that, Mike? The question? Oh, no, we've lost
Might be
Mike. Right.
disconnecting.
Disconnected. I'll ask that to you instead, Joseph, if you don't mind, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame to see the ticket prices being such an issue. I guess, I mean, they class this game as a Category B game, I think, and obviously, I don't know if so many people would class it as that. If you look at the game on paper, and it clearly is a thing. I mean, obviously, I think you have to consider the fact that with Son leaving, that is kind of taking away a lot of tourist tickets being sold in that sense. Obviously, maybe not always Spurs fans. Sometimes Son fans have gone to games and to go and watch Spurs. And obviously, again, that sold tickets, but tickets at a higher price. And again, football has kind of naturally started pricing out the kind of usual match going fan. Unfortunately, it's just kind of where football's gone and the money being pumped into it, and it is extremely expensive. I haven't been to a Spurs game in a while because it's so expensive and it's hard to afford it as well. It's not even just the ticket for the game; it's also getting there. The travel, the transport, everything like that. Food, drink, anything. It's so expensive. You go for a match day, it's 150 to 200 quid almost, and it's crazy the money you have to pay. So, yeah. It's definitely an issue they need to look at, because if there's, it's going to be a real shame if we see tomorrow night that there's empty seats in our first Champions League game in over 3-4 years. I can't even remember the last time we were in the Champions League now. So yeah, would be a real shame. But again, something maybe they need to revisit and look at. I think it's kind of hard to just start reducing the ticket prices once you've already sold tickets to people, because then people are going to be going, okay, why tickets that I'm sitting next to cheaper for someone? But it's obviously just maybe something they need to look at as a whole, because 70 quid for a midweek game is a lot. And I remember when we were in the Europa League at White Hart Lane, me and my dad would sometimes go to a game. It would cost us about 30 quid each, and it was nothing. I mean, obviously 30 quid is not nothing, but it's a lot cheaper than what it is now.
Absolutely.
And now we're looking at £70 for again, a game that isn't one of our biggest games in the Champions League. We've got PSG away and we've got Borussia Dortmund at home. That those would be considered bigger than this Villarreal game. So yeah, definitely something they need to look at.
You're absolutely right. Literally, I'd give anything to go to tomorrow. Sadly, my dad is away working, but the point is absolutely crazy. Where I sit up a shelf, we have 80-82 season tickets. That's literally the first level of premium. And for this game, it was £118 for one person. That's extortionate compared to, what a normal Premier League game is, which is a lot anyway. And this is the first level premium. So all it is you get like the program and food, drink included. All it is, you just pay it before as like a season ticket with part of the deal. It's just absolutely crazy. And Ian saying there in the chat, £70. I mean, Doncaster £30. Yeah, that's not far off actually mine, that one. So it's still an awful lot. And what isn't right as well is that removing the senior concessions we spoke about before, and youth not being much cheaper either. But let's end with score predictions before we wrap it up. Joseph, I'm going to start with you. What's your score prediction for this game?
I'm going to go 3-1 Tottenham. I believe we can get the win tomorrow. I want to see a competitive game. I think Villarreal are a decent side, a professional side. They're not going to be easy to beat, but I think we have the quality over them to really get at them. And I want to see some goals from our front three. I think that's one thing we've been lacking a little bit so far this season. I want to see some goals from that front three, maybe one from Kolo Muani or someone like that. No, really looking forward to the game. Can't wait to watch it. And come on, you Spurs.
Absolutely, come on, you Spurs. Ashmatic, can I get your score prediction and scorers, please?
Yeah, if it's set pieces, we win like 3-1, 2-1. Romero will score a goal from a set piece just to avenge what happened on the weekend.
Lovely.
But if we don't get set pieces and it's open play and they sit in a low block and we have to block and we have to break them down, and it's not a transitional game because lots of our players work better in transition, then I'm going to go for a draw, 2-2. So you got two answers for me. Two answers.
Fair enough. Thank you very much. Ashmatic, I'll let you get away with those two there. Thank you for that. Mike, can I get your score prediction and who you think is going to be on the score sheet too, please?
Yep, I'm going for 2-1, and I reckon we will see some Xavi Simons magic. It's going to happen. He's going to pop a nice little cherry in the top corner somewhere. And I also back Ashmatic's call. I think Romero will score a header to make up for his. He'll be filthy about that, and he will be thinking about it all week, and he'll be ready to come out and just make it happen right. So that's my prediction.
Lovely stuff. I should have mentioned earlier, I know we've touched on it. So you've got one former Spurs player and one Foyth, one current Spurs player, Manor Solomon, who is allowed to play, and two former Arsenal players in Thomas Partey and Nicolas Pepe. Remember that? Arsenal spent 72 million on him. What a flop that he was. He's back and he's facing Tottenham. So I just want to mention that. I couldn't believe that, that he's playing for Villarreal. And if actually look, he's not doing that good either. Travis, can I end with your score prediction? I mean, I always like your positive score predictions. I've got a feeling you're going to go big on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 Tottenham. And I think Xavi Simons is going to get a debut goal in the Champions League, and I think Richarlison, he absolutely buzzes about the Champions League. He loves it. So I think he'll get a goal, and I'm going to go with Mohamed Kudus. Yeah, 25 yards. Yeah, have it. Boom, up Spurs. Have it.
Have it. Love it. Thank you very much. That kind of wraps us up, and let's have it. We'll end there. Thank you very much. Mike, I'll come to you first because I know you've got to jump. Thank you very much for coming on and giving your time so early in the morning. I hope you have a fantastic day. But where can people find you on the socials?
Come and hit me up at MikeDav84, MikeDav84 on the socials. I'm around. I'm exclusive at the moment to the Harry wonderful podcast scene with the lads here. So come find me, have a chat, and always happy to talk all things Spurs from the down under perspective. And absolute pleasure to be with you all. Going to go take my boy to school now. I'm starting my day as you're ending yours, which is pretty bizarre and weird. But yeah, it's been an early one. Time for coffee number 2.
Love it. Feel free to jump. Thank you very much, Mike, for coming on. All the best. Cheers. Travis, thank you very much for coming on. Where can people find you across all socials?
Yeah, I've absolutely loved tonight, Harry. And my dad's actually been watching this one. He said, what a great lineup, and I couldn't agree more. It's been a brilliant lineup tonight with Josie, Ashmatic, and obviously Mike as well. Obviously from many distances away from us in Australia. Yeah, great to have people like that on H. It really, really is. And opening up your podcast and your show, smashing it as always. You can find me on X at Official Caster. I am also on LinkedIn where I do a lot of work for men's mental health. And I am also on TikTok where I'm slowly getting there and slowly working out how to use it. So yeah, hit me up on there, and yeah, let's bring on tomorrow night, and boom, let's have it. Up the Spurs.
Let's have it. I love it. No, but all jokes aside, though, you do some fantastic work, as I always say. So thank you ever so much. And I must admit, with Mike, I had to resist the temptation for a little, good day, mate, with an Australian accent. But mine's absolutely awful, so I did not do it. Thank you very much, Travis. Joseph, thanks so much for coming back on. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on X, Joseph THFC. Again, thank you for having me, Harry. Obviously, become a bit more of a regular over the last year on the channel, and obviously love doing it. Can't wait to be involved more with the channel, and again, it's great always to talk to different Spurs fans and to connect with different people. It's always great. First time meeting you, Ash. It's been great talking to you. Obviously, Trav, we've known each other for a little bit now, which has been great reconnecting with you as well. So again, thank you, Harry, for being a terrific host, and thank you for having me.
No, thank you. And pleasure is mine. Thank you very much. Ashmatic, great to have you back on. Always a pleasure. Absolutely worth the wait. Where can people find you? Talk to people about what you do, Spurs Kings TV, and all the ins and outs.
Yeah, man, that's where you can find me. Spurs Kings TV on X, Spurs Kings TV on YouTube, Spurs Kings TV to the world, man. Simple as that, man. As Travis said, man, up the Spurs, COYS, man. We're fully COYS. We're one family. And we're all passionate Spurs fans that want our team to do well at the end of the day. And yeah, come and check us out. We're a crazy bunch over here, and Scarfey knows about us as well. So big up to Scarfey, you know what I'm saying? Big up Scarfey. Wonderful host, very professional. And he's just got that aura on the mic. Sounds like BBC. So crystal clear and crisp. I love it. But big up to the chat as well. And yeah, man, and also your audio listeners as well. But yeah, thanks for having me on again.
No, thank you. I haven't got the aura of Ange, rocking up at the Emirates like I did the other day just to lose 3-0. But no, thank you very much, Ashmatic. It's a real pleasure. I hope it didn't have the delay that you get on the likes of BBC and others, where they ask a question and you get a 15-second delay. So hopefully, a bit better that end. But no, thank you all. Make sure to follow all these guys across all socials. Always a pleasure to deliver the podcast. You know who I am, Harry Scarfe. If you want to follow me, you can at Harry Scarfe 22. But most importantly, check all these guys out on all the socials. Thank you very much. Do come back. Listen on the podcast platform. Drop us a follow. 5-star review. Listen on YouTube. Like and subscribe. But most importantly, come on, you Spurs, for tomorrow. Villarreal back in the Champions League. Let's get the campaign off with a win. Come on, you Spurs. We can do it.